Okay, welcome back to this magnificent channel that YouTube randomly recommended to you guys based off of your past interest. So you know me, I'm just here riding my e-bike because gas is expensive. Plus, let's be honest, this is way more fun than driving a standard vehicle, in my humble opinion. If you've been following the channel, you know that one of my good friends just picked up an Onyx RCR. I made a video on it, and it's actually my #1 most viewed video on the channel so far. So thanks a lot for that. The reason why I bring this up is because I fully believe this whole e-bike thing is going to be the future, and I'm currently what's known as an early adopter, somebody that's ahead of the curve. And the same thing applies to all of you guys watching. I mean, other places around the globe, like Europe in particular, are way ahead of the United States when it comes to e-bike adoption and just generally using bikes to get around. Americans love their four-wheeled gas-guzzling vehicles. But even just speaking from my personal experience, I was the very first person in my friend group to get an e-bike. And since then, of course, I let all of my friends ride it, I showed it off to them, and basically all of them have been hooked ever since. One of them, as you guys saw, already got an Onyx, and I have another friend that's currently talking to me about picking up an e-bike, although his price range is different. He wants to spend roughly $1,500 on this e-bike. So I definitely love to see all this positive interest around e-bikes. And I mean, I'm telling you guys, everybody that rides an e-bike instantly falls in love with it. My brother-in-law, I just let ride my e-bike for the first time because he doesn't live that close. And prior to that, I was talking to him about the e-bike and how cool it is. And he had like a negative impression on it right off the bat for some unknown reason. After he rode it, he absolutely fell in love with it. And he had the biggest smile on his face while he was riding my bike. So needless to say, e-bikes are definitely the future, and you're going to see a lot more of them on the road in the next 5 years, I would say. Now this brings me back to the main topic I want to talk about, which is my friend who wants to buy an e-bike but only wants to spend around $1,500. And I was trying to find what's the best option for that price range. Now you do have a lot of options when it comes to, I guess $1,500 would be mid-range e-bikes, but when it comes to these specifications, you know, styling aside, for that kind of money, you're looking at roughly a 750 watt motor and a 48 to 52 volt battery setup. That's kind of the usual specs I've been coming across in this price range. What the hell's this guy doing? And there's nothing wrong with those specs. That's actually good for the vast majority of people, because my friend, he just bought like a new car, spent like $30,000 on it, so he doesn't necessarily want a super high-powered e-bike to replace that expensive investment he just made. For him, the e-bike is more of a secondary accessory option for getting around town and saving some wear and tear on his main vehicle. I'm just a big believer that when it comes to e-bikes, you want to get the best specs for the money. I mean, am I wrong on this? Styling is also very important. Some people put style and fashion above having the absolute best specs, which I can understand. There's definitely a balancing act to be had there. But the e-bike my friend is looking at is actually a new offering from Juiced Bikes, and this is the ripracer. And for the money, this does look like a pretty solid choice, I have to say. In terms of styling and fashion, it is very attractive to the eye. The biggest thing that stands out to me, besides the attractive color, is that for $1,500, you're getting a fat tire e-bike. So it comes standard with knobby, I believe 4-inch wide tires, which is pretty nice. And in terms of the other specs, it has that standard 750 watt motor, although the peak wattage I think was more like 1200 watts, which is nice to see. That's going to give you a bit more extra pep when you want to accelerate and just have more fun on the bike. And the battery is something like 48 volts and 17 amp hours, something in that range. Now the biggest knock I have on this e-bike is that there is no suspension at all. Even the front, the fork is solid. It doesn't have a suspension fork. I do assume that you can switch it out for a suspension fork in the future if you desire, but stock out of the box, this bike has absolutely zero suspension. So it fully relies on the fat tires to smoothen out the ride a little bit, which could be a good trade-off because again, it's only $1,500. So let me know in the comments down below which e-bike is the best for around $1,500 and what you think of this Juiced ripracer. The other options I saw come from a company called Ride One Up. That seemed pretty cool. The styling was more of a traditional bike. It did have a front suspension fork, which is pretty nice, and the other specs are in line with the Juiced, with a 750 watt motor and a pretty standard battery. And aside from that, there's also the Radrunner, which is one of the biggest e-bike brands in the US apparently. I didn't know that until recently. Okay, Honda, can you get out of my way? Jeez. But those bikes are definitely less performance-oriented and more oriented towards utility, and I believe they have spots to mount like a front and a rear rack, which is a pretty nice feature. I'm not sure if that's going to be the best match for my friend because he has a primary vehicle, and this is just going to be for having fun and getting around town. So I don't know, I think the juiced ripracer, it does look attractive, it has nice fat tires, and considering his situation and his price point, I think that might be his best option. I did recommend the Ariel Rider X-Class to him. That's a bit more money. I think it's like $2,100. But that's going to be the cheapest e-bike that I know of that has full suspension. So it has shocks in the front as well as in the back, which is very hard to find for around $2,000. It also has the same 4-inch fat tires, which is nice. And in terms of specs, I believe the hub motor is actually 1,000 watts and the battery is 52 volts, which is pretty solid. I think that's one of the best deals in the e-bike space right now. So yeah, that's the rant for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. And remember to leave those comments letting us know what you think about this price range and the e-bike offerings and your favorite picks. And if you guys are still watching and enjoyed, you know what to do. Leave the video a like, subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot and I greatly appreciate it. But this is my destination, so with all that said, see you guys in the next one. Also, my seat is like completely broken. I like it, it's very comfortable, it was cheap, but the spring underneath the seat is like completely loose. But whatever, that's e-bike life.